Hi everyone. I want to read another extract from this book that I've edited called Idries Shah Remembered. This piece was written by a very dear friend of mine and a very dear friend of my father's, Leon Flamholc, the filmmaker. And I worked with Leon a lot in Peru and Afghanistan, and we shared astonishing experiences. And very sadly, Leon died a couple of years ago, and he's enormously missed by us all. I've called this piece by him Real Preparation. I knew Idries Shah from 1964 until his death in 1996. And in that time, I feel as though I encountered 3 different versions of him and that he encountered 3 versions of me. Hindsight is a wonderful thing, and it's only with hindsight that I believe one can make sense of the people, places, and experiences, the kinds that make us who we are. One of the things that Shah impressed upon me was never to be conventional. And even though I have lived the most unconventional life, I have spent a great part of it in Sweden, the land of conventionality par excellence. It was in my early 20s, and blessed with a restless soul, I had been blown over to England as a result of certain meetings and interests. I found myself there at Coombe Springs, a rambling Victorian mansion where the writer and spiritualist J.G. Bennett lived. Far too much has been published and said about Coombe Springs, located as it was in the south of London, and so I won't add to it with a description of my own memories. Rather, I'd like to mention the first impression I had of Shah, who had turned up by invitation of Bennett in 1964. The thing about Coombe Springs, at least in my opinion, was that everyone was so similar but was at the same time desperately trying to give the impression that they were different. The swinging 60s were just getting underway, with the tie-dye, the uppers, the downers, the LSD, the Beatlemania, and all the rest. Onto this stage came Idries Shah. I remember meeting him on the first day and making a note to myself how he was genuinely different from all the others who had found themselves washed up at Coombe Springs. He spoke softly, but seemed to have the most electrifying energy, as though there was a tightly coiled clock spring inside him. Like everyone else, I felt drawn to him, and I hung on his every word. In our first conversation, I explained that I was Swedish, but then again, I wasn't really Swedish, that I was a Polish Jew with a Russian mother who had been born in Kyrgyzstan and had lived in half a dozen countries even before I was 10 years old. Shah had listened intently. Looking back now, it was as if he was weighing me up in the scales of his mind, gauging whether he could help me or not. "You have a clear advantage," he told me. I asked what it was. "You've already been needed by life," he explained. "Your body and your mind have been pulled in every direction. It means you've been prepared in the very best way. That is, without knowing that you're being prepared at all." I asked Shah specifically what constituted the best preparation. He thought for a moment or two. Then, almost in a whisper, he said, "Real preparation doesn't address that which one is preparing for. Instead, it addresses ideas and themes which appear to be quite dissociated from the goal, but which, of course, are completely attached. That's because the mind is not wired in a linear way. If I say to you, Amazonian tree frog, you probably don't think of a tree frog at all, but something completely unrelated." "I'm thinking of a Siamese cat," I said, laughing. "Precisely," Shah said. "And if I ask you to think of a Siamese cat, you'll probably think of an Amazonian tree frog, because that's how our minds are wired. So in order to learn, we must prepare our minds with exercises and information," he told me. If we don't, then nothing will ever sink in. It's rather like trying to drink ice. First, you have to change the form of the ice to melt it into water.